In this video, I'm going to teach you how to use Posca pens. They're about as simple, hassle-free, and easy to use as can possibly be. So let's hop into it. Alright, first things first, you're going to want a blank piece of scrap paper for general use. You'll see why in just a moment. Next, you're going to want to take the plastic covering off of these markers, and the easiest way to do that is just to sort of twist them like this. Breaks the seal and you can take it right off. I've got a very vague, simple little artwork in mind, so I'm taking out some of the colors that I think will be helpful. And this cute little canvas is where I'm going to do my little Posca demonstration to teach you how to use these things. First things first, when you open it up, you'll notice that the tip comes out. It kind of looks like a soft little tic tac. This is the nib. You could put it in either direction, it doesn't really matter, but your goal is to get that as soaked with paint as possible. As soon as you pick up the pen and you start to shake it, you'll realize that there's a little ball inside, and its purpose is to mix the paint and the thinners to make sure that you get a nice even paint. And what we have to do is gently press on the nib back and forth a couple of times until the nib is completely saturated with paint. It's not always as quick as this. Sometimes you might have to do it for a full minute before you can fully saturate the nib, but I think these ones were just really new, so it worked out really fast. As you can see, the black one took a little longer than the others. You want to make sure that that nib is completely saturated before you start drawing. Otherwise, you might get an inconsistent or patchy line. Woohoo! Just as soon as I start putting paint to this canvas, you can see what a nice, smooth, opaque finish these Posca pens give. It really makes it a real pleasure to use them. Now here's the fun part which makes Posca pens so special. So while that paint is still wet, using some orange, I can actually get the yellow to bleed quite a lot. And by doing that, I can actually blend the two colors. The easiest way to do this is to actually take the lighter color, in this case the yellow, and use the yellow to blend in a direction from the orange inward towards the yellow. It might take a couple of back and forth between the two different colors until you get it perfect, but you just keep working it closer until you get a nice even yellow. I'm super pedantic about my paints. I don't like the idea of different color paints on my nibs, so I always like to keep this piece of paper handy so I can clean my nibs off as quick as can be. So starting to get an idea of what I want to draw here, I decided to add some brown. And I did one of the smartest things you could imagine while activating this pen. Yep, I shook it without the lid on. Don't do this, kids. You might just get paint everywhere. Yeah, that wasn't easy to get off. Don't do that. Keep the lid on. You'll have a much better time of it. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of gray, almost as if it's a shadow of this shape that I'm revealing here. But unfortunately, because these nibs are so broad, I've got the broad ones, I wasn't able to get really precise, so I had to go in again in order to clarify those lines. Yep, and if you hadn't guessed it already, what I'm drawing is a duck. Look at those beautiful, intelligent eyes. But as with all artworks that don't have a plan in mind, things can get a little crazy. On nothing else but a whim, I decided to activate this pink pen and give this guy a little bit of shape. And because we're using Posca pen, which is a very pop art kind of cartoony kind of style, I'm going to give his eyes a little bit more character, a few highlights on the beak, and I'm going to activate this little black pen. So this has got a slightly sharper nib, which will allow me to do a little bit greater details. And I'm going to give him some nice bold outlines. And a little bit of emotion with these incredibly sarcastic eyebrows. And a few feathers, just to show that he really is a bird. Then I thought I'd give our friendly little bird a nice wholesome message. You know, so that this could be something that you could hang up on your wall, in your restroom, or in the hallway, just to welcome people to your home. Wow, that got out of hand fast. Well, there you go. Now you know everything you'll ever need to know about how to use Posca pens on a canvas or piece of paper. They're really simple, really straightforward. You've got to just be a little bit careful. You saw that I shook the little ball bearing inside the pen without the cap on, and I got brown paint all over the place. Don't be like me, be a little bit more careful, and you'll have absolutely no problems. I actually used Posca pens for many years before I started the sneaker customizing business. in my previous business where I was customizing surfboards. And I was able to do some artworks like this, like this, like this, and so many other cool artworks thanks to Posca pens. Unfortunately, when I came into the sneaker industry, some of the OG sneaker artists swore against using Posca pens on sneakers. And I just sort of took it at face value. They said don't use Posca pens because they're going to fade, don't use Posca pens because they're going to crack, don't use Posca pens because you don't have as much control because of the wide nib that you would get with a paintbrush. So I kind of took that for granted for a really long time. But I got these pens at the shop recently so that I could figure it out for myself and show you guys whether or not you really can use Posca pens on customizing sneakers, or what kind of art can you really do with Posca pens. Check out this next video if you'd like to find out more about Posca pens on sneakers. But for now, just remember, always remember, you are not safe. Did you know that there's actually like a phobia? People are afraid of ducks watching them or something like that. Hold on, let me just look it up. Phobia of ducks watching me. It's called anatidiaphobia. The fear that somehow, somewhere, a duck is watching you. I think I'm going to have to take that down.